check we've gone live. I think that should now be working. Just bear with me if you're listening, guys. I'm just making sure everything's working correctly. That'll be excellent. So, hello and welcome along to another episode of the Crypto Knowledge Alliance Does Crypto Live. I'm Jimbo. Thanks again for coming and stopping by in the live. In today's video, we will analyze Bitcoin, which is currently on the verge of testing 2019 high. We will do our normal chart requests. If anyone has any charts that they want to have a look at, stick them straight there in the comments, and we can get into those as soon as we get the chance to. We will briefly between us, and I'd love your input on this subject, discuss the pros and cons, do a some sort of a SWOT analysis on the Libra Association and the Facebook cryptocurrency project. See if we can, between ourselves, bounce some ideas around about, is this a positive? Is it a negative? What are the impacts that Libra could have for the cryptocurrency market as a whole? Focusing perhaps mainly on, maybe we'll take a couple of cryptos and say, well, what's the impact that Libra is going to have on these? I will also introduce you today to a technical analysis indicator, which I used mainly when I was trading FX and other commodities, and I still use, and I am back testing it against cryptocurrencies. I'm doing back testing this particular indicator now for some time, and what I wanted to do is bring it to your attention. I'm not going to go into the full complexities of it, otherwise we'll be sat here for hours, but I'm going to give you a brief overview of what is the TDI, how can we use it to trade, and what does it do? How does it make us trade? So that'll be something that we'll look into. We're looking into that together. So we'll dive right in, really. I just if anyone's in the chat room, if you can just drop me a little message and say hello, that'd be excellent. Also, as per the normal, if you could slap me a thumbs up on this video, that'd be excellent. That will help to get the video content to more people, and hopefully we can start opening these discussions up in the live streams to more people. The more people that we get here in the group and discussing things in the chat room, the more inputs and knowledge that we're going to be able to share between each other. If you're in the Telegram group already, you know we're all about knowledge sharing and the spreading of the individual skill sets and knowledges that we have. And I think the more heads that you can add to that, the better. And that goes the same for this discussion. If you are new here and you're watching on a replay or something like that, in the description for the video, you will find a link to our Telegram chat group. If you're not familiar with Telegram, it's very similar to WhatsApp, but it's also reasonably superior in a few features. But it's just basically a chat function, and I recommend come and join us in there. We talk crypto all day. We have some very extremely knowledgeable heads in that group, several well-known cryptocurrency YouTubers. We have some company CEOs. We have community outreach managers. We have traders, investors alike. So yeah, really good place to be. I'm also going to take a very quick second here just to shout out my admins, which is Rahul, Kukla, and Matt. You three do an amazing job of being active with the community. Thank you very much for everything you do. It's really great. But as I've said before, can't be the hardest job in the world because our community is so nice. Everyone is very friendly in there. So I think that makes a big difference. So, I've just updated the chat room and I see Matt the Carpenter. Hi, Matt. You would have just heard your little shout out there, mate. Reporting for duty, sir. Good to have you here, mate. Yeah, excellent. And Jeff Sturmy, I think you might be new here, Jeff. Welcome to you. Great to have you along. Yeah, excellent. Like is smashed. Yes, thank you very much, Matt. Like is smashed. If you could do that for me, that's going to really help. It's going to help grow the channel's awareness from people. So something I'm going to have to improve on is getting this live chat thing working properly, because currently I'm sat here looking at it on my phone, and I'm sure there's going to be a way that I can do it on the computer so that it doesn't block your vision of what we're looking at on the charts and stuff. Man in Black, howdy. Hi, nice to have you here, Man in Black, and thank you very much for offering to tweet out the link. That's very kind of you, sir. Again, anything we can do to share this content around, that's really going to help me and the group grow. So thank you very much. Okay, guys, so as I dive into Bitcoin now, what I'd ask you to do is, if you've got any charting requests or any news or anything like that you want to draw our attention to, stick it down there in the chat and we'll get to it as we go through. Let's start, first of all, here on the Bitcoin one day. And I'm going to just change this over to Coinbase. Just jump over to Coinbase. Okay, right. So here we are on the 1-day Bitcoin chart. And as you can see, we are back on the green candle for the day, and we are very close to approaching the high for the year, which was back here several days ago at 9,471. We were looking like we were going to go and test the 9,500 mark. Psychologically, that seemed like a rejection point. And we've seen a sell-off, but very limited. And actually, the price has managed to maintain height above the 7 EMA for the moment, which is actually a very big positive from my perspective. I like to see that. I always look for these resistance and support that have active for some time. As you can see, although it's not the exact line of support, it plays pretty well here. You can see that the price action followed it. We've had drops below it, but never come down and test a 50. From my perspective, from what I know about the charting analysis, is that if you're above and using the 7 as support and the 50's down there in sight and you're not even looking to go back and test it, that is rather bullish for the momentum at the time. I must say I'm feeling quite bullish looking at this chart at the moment. Yeah, I think that we've got to see the 9,500 break. What we don't want to do is stagnate here for too long, because confidence may drop, and we may see this this momentum that we're on break down. If we don't, this could be an exponential run up from here. We're seeing this curve just get tighter and tighter. So let's see, are we going to break? We're going to break this parabolic run, or are we going to continue it? That would be interesting to see. In the last video, we were discussing in the chat group about where we thought the psychological mass media attention comes in. Does that come at 10K? Does it come at 20K? A lot of people surprisingly saying they think this time 20K might actually be where the mainstream media starts to really hype things up, because obviously it'll be a new, approaching the all-time high and stuff like that. But I guess that's to be seen. I must admit, I turn off most mass media when it comes to Bitcoin at the moment. Maybe it's time that I start looking at that a bit more to see what is the sentiment in the mass media, because I mean, my friends are still out there, and I guess some of you guys out there are going to feel the same about this and have the same situations occurring, where all of a sudden you've got your colleagues and friends and all family members or whatever, all these people who know that you know a little bit about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. And to be honest, that Bitcoin, that's what they know. Well, certainly in my own personal situation, people know Bitcoin, and they say to me, Jimbo. I say, Jimbo, oh, when's Bitcoin going to be, back again? When's it going to, when's it going to be good? And I always repeat with, reply with the same thing. I say, well, it's gone up from 3,600 to nearly $10,000 in a matter of just 6 months. So, how much more bullish do you want us to be? I would say that it's well and truly turning back for the better. Manaback, Jimbo, you sound back to full health. Glad to hear. Way to power through. Yeah, well, I must admit, still got a little bit of a chesty cough, but other than that, I'm pretty much okay. That's part of living in England, I'm afraid. Man in Black, it's just grey all the time. I mean, we're at the peak of our summer right now, and we're still just grey and rainy. But hey, you can't complain. It's what I'm used to, so I don't mind. We do get an occasional bit of sun, but yeah, do have a lot of colds about. So Bitcoin on the daily, I would suggest from my perspective that we're looking quite bullish at the moment. But as I said, I would want to see the momentum reasonably pick up in the next couple of days. Otherwise, we will see a retracement here on this daily chart. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to overlay a bit of analysis on the TDI. Now, I don't expect this to be fully understood, because, again, I'm not going to go into crazy detail on how this technical analysis tool works. But again, if I get enough push through from you guys and you say, hey, Jimbo, really like the TDI, like the look of it, I'd like to learn how to sort of perhaps integrate that into my own trading techniques, then we can maybe do a video on how the S2 trading strategy works. And that's mainly used in foreign exchange. FX is really good for the S2. You have to be extremely, what's the word I'm looking for? Strict with yourself about applying the trading rules for the S2 trading. But if you can stick to S2, it can be very good. Again, my personal opinion. Always throw it out there, guys. I'm not a professional financial advisor. I'm not giving professional financial or legal advice. This is just me calling the markets as I see them, and us having an open discussion about those things and seeing what we can determine in the market. Eng probably isn't helping. No, not at the moment. That is quite frankly a sea of red, isn't it, Man in Black? Marcus Jafari. Oops, I missed the start, but good to be here for the live evening. All evening, Marcus Jafari. Great to have you along. Thanks for joining, Marcus. If you've got anything that you want us to have a look at today in the live stream, if you whack it down there in the chat, we'll get to it as and when we can. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn over to the TDI here on the Bitcoin One Daily, and I'm going to explain to you what we've got on the TDI. And we've got three lines that are visible. The first is the yellow line, and this is called the lagging 50. The lagging 50. We've got the green line, which may look familiar to you guys, which is just our standard RSI. And the red line that you can see is a moving average, which is overlaid. Now, basically, what we use these sets of three lines to do is determine underlying sentiment, market momentum, power of direction, all sort of together in one chart to determine things. And I'm going to explain these simple outlines very quickly. But basically, if you were trading the TDI for Forex, because you've got such a huge choice of different markets to pick from, all you're doing is looking for particular currency pairs which meet a set of specifications and only trading the ones that meet those specifications, right? So what we're looking for, you can see now I've got my cursor here halfway across, and you can see on the right hand side there it says 50. Now that is the static 50. This line in the middle is called the static 50. What we're looking for to trade off the TDI is the lagging 50, which is the yellow line, to be above the static 50. As you can see it here, it crossed the static 50. So that would be an indicator to start paying attention. Additionally to the lagging 50 being above the the static 50, we're also looking for the RSI to be breaking out above this moving average. And you can see where these cross points happen in the trade zone above 50. Let's just pinpoint a couple of where you would have buy signals. So there's a buy signal there. I wonder if you can see that, where the green ticks up above the red and is above the yellow also, and the yellow's in the 50 zone. That would have been a buy signal. You might have got out on this dip, but because the green didn't drop below 50, that would be within the rules of staying in, and you'd have basically traded all the way up here, probably got out back on this cross. Again, you would have had a potential buy signal here, and again, a potential sell signal here. So you get the idea. We're looking to trade the peaks above the lagging 50 when it's in the buy zone. Now, why am I mentioning this without going into too much detail for today? The reason that I'm mentioning this particular indicator today is what we have happening. It's very good for spotting divergences and emergences, okay? And what we can see is, although our lagging 50 is beginning to trend back downwards, what we've got is the crossover that we like to see, which is I'll put this as full screen. This would be, if you were traditionally trading the S2, you would look for a candle formation, but this would start to look like a buy signal. Now, we'd want to see the lagging 50 start to curve back up, but our RSI and our simple moving average crossing up above the lagging 50, above the static 50, this is a buy signal. Okay, that does not to say that it's absolutely 100% sure thing, but all I'm saying is that this indicator alone would suggest possibly we may see further upside. So worth just keeping an eye on there, guys. And like I said, if there's enough interest, we can go into some more detail on the TDI and that it could take me hours worth of content to really explain the S2 trading pattern. So maybe one day we'll add that onto a course. But once the How Do app goes live, maybe I'll add it onto the content onto there. Kay Parler, hello. Hi, Kay Parler. Good to have you here. Yeah, excellent. Hi, nice to have you here, Kay Parler. Welcome along to the live stream, buddy. Thanks for joining us. Okay, so 4-hour chart. So again, we could probably take the TDI off for now. That's just a little indicator I wanted to show you there on the daily. We can see that, probably get rid of these EMAs for now as well. We have very strong bull movement sustained currently. You can see that support line is yet to be broken, and that's the sort of thing that we're looking for. And what we also have developing now, one of the key things when it comes to, from my personal perspective, one of the key things that we should be looking for when we're trading is horizontal resistances and supports. And you'll probably hear people drum on about this all the time, but it really is significant. It really is significant. If you traded horizontals alone, I'm not saying it's going to be guaranteed a perfect thing, but you could probably, if you just focused on horizontals, work out a pretty good trading strategies just using horizontal lines of resistance and support. And the reason I say that is because once we break these lines of resistance and support, we very often see the follow through that we expect to see. And this is when we talk about the triangles that form on charts. We talk about parallel ascending and descending triangles. They're being formed off a horizontal. There's a support line which is increasing or decreasing, but they're battling against a horizontal one way or another. So it's good to look at. And what I believe we have here on the 4-hour chart is a potential neckline forming here for this current area of the trend. And what I would say is, let's just before we move on, let's relate it to this one here. You can see that we battled this line here with these 4-hour candles for a little bit of time. You can see there was a few candles that were battling this area. When we finally broke and close above it, we had a breakout, a very, very strong breakout. Are we seeing something very similar on a larger scale here? We can put the horizontal in, possibly move it up a couple bucks, because yes, the candle wicks are obviously part of the price movement, absolutely. But what you need to remember is every single chart is relative. So on the 4-hour chart, they are candle wicks, not the candle bodies. You can put your lines where you need them. I like to have them on bodies to give me an estimation. Then I'll possibly draw the ones in for the wicks also. But as you can see, we have been testing this psychological area about where we are on the price now, about at 9,350 zone for several days now, all the way back to the 16th when we first hit it. There's a couple of things that could happen here. We could get rejected and we could go back down and test this uptrending support line that we see. I anticipate that if we were to break down below this, expect a sell-off. Very similar to how gaps get filled in the stock market. People are watching these zones of support and resistance. And when you do break down through them or up above them, you tend to get follow through. So keep an eye on these two lines is something I would suggest for the 4-hour on Bitcoin. And like I said, if we were to break above and more specifically and more importantly, close above, then I would anticipate further upside, but worth keeping on. Let's have a quick jump back to the chat and see who's in. Tim Gash, good evening, Jimbo. Welcome, Tim. Great to have you along. Tim is another member from the Telegram group, so it's good to see you guys all coming and getting involved in the discussions now. Excellent to have you here. K Parler, the TDI sounds interesting. Oh yeah, excellent. Yeah, brilliant. Well, like I said, hopefully we'll cover some more content into that. Maybe I will do a detailed S2 strategy video another day. Adib, hi, just made it. Welcome along, Adib. Great to have you here. Welcome along. Matt, Matt the Cup. See, Matt, not just an admin in my Telegram group, he's welcoming people along in here. Thank you very much, Matt. It's excellent. And yes, welcome along, Adib. PJ Tibet, hey Jimbo, can you look at the Ethereum chart? Next stop $400. Cheers. PJ, not a problem. Let's do that. And welcome along as well, PJ. It's good to have you here. PJ is in a little Telegram it's a little Telegram group with myself and several others. We're working on a little project gem discovery sort of thing where we bounce ideas between us about which projects we think could be up and coming from the low market caps. And actually, there's something developing in the background that's coming in the future. Can't give too many details away yet because I've agreed not to. But there is something coming in the not so distant future where we will be delivering some form of content for you guys about these projects. So let's have a jump over to Ethereum US dollar and see just how long it might take to get over to that 400 target that PJ is talking about. Whilst that loads up, I'll just finish reading through the deep. Hi, Matt. Stephen King. Hello, everyone. Stephen, welcome along. It's excellent to have you here, mate. Welcome along to the stream. Again, I'll reiterate, guys, if anyone's got any requests, they want to have a look at anything, whack it down there in the chat and we'll get to them as we go. I'll come back to those in a minute. Right, so Ethereum US dollar 4-hour chart looks to be in accumulation consolidation on the 4-hour chart, as you can see here. Now, what I'm going to do now, if anyone knows anything about Wyckoff theory, they'll know that basically we look for consolidation and accumulation zones between moves. Okay, now let's have a little quick look at Wyckoff pattern. Now I'm going to show you this, guys. bit of a tangent, but as I've said, I'm not just here to look at the charts. We're trying to learn together. And yes, I don't know anything. I do not claim to know everything for a moment, but I will try and share with you some of the things I do know. So here you've got accumulation schematic, Wyckoff events, and phases. So what this does is it shows us how things tend to behave within an accumulation and consolidation phases. And you can see probably little bit here. You see you have distribution or consolidation. And you can see that what you have is these areas of these channels, these parallel channels. And once we break down either way, what we often do is test it on a throwback, and then we see a breakout in either direction. Now, let's have a look at Ethereum. And what you can see here is a strong move. And then let's overlay a rectangular zone. Often find these are useful. And look, you can include the wicks on this as well because it's such a tight range. But you can see that we have been trading within this range pretty comfortably ever since the 14th of May. So my answer to you, PJ, certainly as of right now, would be $400 next stop. Very possibly. What I would definitely be looking for, at least on the 4-hour chart, is a break either way out of this zone. Now, let's just again, we're talking about these accumulation and distribution zones. Let's overlay this one. Not quite as relevant in this case, this particular zone, because you actually only got a couple of points of contact. Ideally, you want to see, like you can see these peaks and tips within the zone. Ideally, we want to see that, and you could overlay lines on these to make them a channel, but you can see relatively clearly how the price was trading within this area. And when we finally broke out, and we were talking about, let's just have a look at this picture again. We're looking at this throwback, breakdown, then throwback. Well, let's have a look what that looks like in the positive. And here it is, right? So you've got the breakthrough. And again, with most breakthroughs, it happens with a large candle. We then had a throwback. We retested the top of the zone, and the support on that zone became a very bullish signal to buyers that we were staying outside of this previous trading zone, and we've pushed up, and we've now created the next plateau trading zone, whatever you want to call it. We're now in it. So keep an eye on this zone, see which way we break. That will give you a pretty clear indication of where we're going in the short to mid-term. From a personal standpoint, do I believe Ethereum's on its way to $400? Well, I would have to say absolutely, I do. Do I think it's going to happen immediately? I would say absolutely that is tied to Bitcoin USD and what Bitcoin does. Because as we know, the altcoins and Bitcoin are still coupled. We haven't seen the great decoupling yet. It hasn't happened. Whatever you hear, it may be in the process of happening, but I still believe that will take several years to happen. But maybe Binance and what they're doing at the moment might speed things up. Who knows? But because they're still coupled and a relationship there between the two, I would suggest that what we need to do is wait and see for Bitcoin. If Bitcoin crashes 25% over a week, you can bet your life that Ethereum will have retraced somewhat as well. But at the moment, pretty steep climb from the bear market lows, which is obviously positive to see, especially if you were buying Ethereum back here. Wink, wink. Very nice to see. Of course, this chart, it does look bullish, but you compare that to the Litecoin chart and what Litecoin's done this year. But of course, Litecoin is driven by the halving. And if you don't know what the halving is, I recommend you go and do some research on what proof of work blockchains do and how they work and how the halving effect works. And you will learn about that for sure. But yes, PJ, I think $400. I would say we need to break. This is very important. And you can see why we're trading here at this resistance. This top end resistance here at 325. That's once that's broken, you've got a gap to fill up to, back up to this zone, back up towards the 400 zone. So it's looking bullish. I would say sentiment and news is strong for Ethereum. Obviously, they have just announced that they will be releasing Ethereum 2.0 on January the 3rd, 2020. And if you guys don't know the significance of January the 3rd, that will be 11 years since the Bitcoin Genesis block. So a little bit of smart pre-planning there by our friend Vitalik. But as you can see at the moment, the trend line is increasing in its steepness, and that is rather bullish. So yes, if PJ, if I wanted to know, if I wanted to look at something that was going to give me a good indication of where we're going to go in the next day or two, I would draw this very support line in between the 27th of April and the touchdown we had here on the 10th of June, because that gives us the gradient of the current move. And then what you can do is you can wait and see as we approach this support line, if we springboard up off this or if we break down through it, and then you'll know that the next support will be somewhere in the 186 or somewhere along this support line. Also, so I hope that gives you a little bit more of an indication of where it might go, PJ. Do I think we will see a $400 Ethereum this year? Yes, I personally do. I personally do think we will see that. And how high it can go before Ethereum 2.0, well, that, in my opinion, just depends on just how much come out, just how many people announce that they're going to be using Ethereum. Because, I mean, I know a lot of the other blockchain projects are, quote unquote, catching up with Ethereum, and people talk about, transaction speeds and all this and the other. One thing I will add to those remarks is that actually sometimes it pays to be the first in the space, and Ethereum and Vitalik have got smart contracts well and truly locked up. I just saw shared a news story today. Let me just see if I can find it. Yes, MetLife. So MetLife are looking to disrupt the life insurance industry on the blockchain. And again, if you think, it's reported as a $2.7 trillion dollar industry. Now, what you need to think about here is application and use case relevancy. Oh, that's a lot of syllables. Yeah, okay, but accurate. But that's what I would suggest this is. Now, in a case of insurance, a smart contract seems the perfect fit. You destroy, you get rid of the costly, timely admin side of the insurance market. For the companies, that's very time and cost saving, and it's all the things that everything on the blockchain is. It's perfect. It's the perfect thing to put on smart contracts as insurance, and I wonder if we will see. If we'll see more and more of these people come out, more and more of these big companies come out and say, we like Ethereum smart contracts, we're going to use it for the future. And that could very much drive the future price of Ethereum, not just Bitcoin's price, but Ethereum's physical use case. There you go. Crypto Panic saying Russia will not legalize Facebook's Libra. Now that is the second country of the day suggesting this, and if you haven't seen it already, I believe. Listen, the news story dropped about India blocking it earlier today. Couple of inputs on that. One, India is one of the largest customer bases of WhatsApp in the world. So, what implications does that have for Libra? They're going to lose potentially one of their biggest marketplaces. But the second thing I'll add is that, so for example, Rahul in our group is of Indian descent, and he speaks to me about the illegal aspects of cryptocurrency in India, and it seems like they're very strict on it. But yet, when they come out and do communications, it's always very grey, and they sort of say, "Oh well, someone's reporting." That RBI is saying absolutely no way are we going to allow cryptocurrencies in the country, and then on the flip side of that, you've got government officials coming out and saying, "Oh, well, wait a minute, we are not putting any block on blockchain." So India, that'll be interesting to watch. But second country potentially coming out today and saying that they're not going to allow Libra to operate. And we'll get to Libra in a little while. We'll get through the first bit. I'm excited to talk about it. Just have a quick eyes over the comments again. Man in Black, I really want to add to my bag of Eng, but think it may keep dipping if Bitcoin continues this run. Are you adding at this level? Let's get the Eng chart up. I'm going to start with the simple answer for you, Man in Black, before I get the chart open. I can tell you that right now I'm not adding to my Eng pile. That is not because I don't believe in the project, and I will show you on the daily chart why I'm not adding at this point. And I'm going to slap one horizontal. We're talking about horizontals. I'm going to slap one horizontal line in, and it's going to tell you the story of what I see. I hope that even just having a quick look at that man in black can identify to you why I'm personally not just right now buying. And as you can see, we saw this form a 2-day support. I know it's not a significant support, but as you can see, we did stay above it. And again, once we've this doji here, again, if you don't know what a doji is, go and have a little look. But as you can see, we came below the previous support level. We tried to get back up, and this doji just said no thank you, we are on our way down, and it's been red days ever since then. And yeah, the momentum on this downside doesn't seem to be over yet, man in black. But as you can see, we're not looking at significant support areas either, and that's where you've got to put these lines in and make a pre-assumption of your buy zones. That line there, you can see we've had quite a lot of price action. I would imagine that volume node between 1.7 and 1.2 is extremely high because of all this price action here. So I would say that certainly towards the 1.2 level, if we dared start approaching that area, then potentially I would be looking to potentially pick some more up. What I will also add to that is and this is for everyone to pay attention to now, guys. Again, not financial or legal advice, but be careful over the next few days. There are trading opportunities out there, that's for sure. Main few things are driving that, the Binance news, etc., etc. But in the main, this downwards trajectory is across the alts, okay? And that is Bitcoin driven. Bitcoin, as we just reviewed, looks like one way or another, there's going to be significant movement potentially within the next week or two. Whether that be to the upside or the downside is yet to be seen. You've heard my personal preference. I think possibly more likely to the upside. But when Bitcoin moves significantly, people jump out of the alts. They don't want to miss out, whether that's because they want to get into a stable coin and secure their profit, or whether that's because they want to get back into Bitcoin as it jumps up. You catch the drift. Sometimes we can be away from the charts for an hour, and Bitcoin jumps 6%, and some of the alts have dropped 20%, the major alts. And we've seen that time and time again. So my personal strategy over the next couple of days, I have got some active positions. Don't get me wrong, I have some active positions, but I will be keeping a keen eye on my stop losses and also the Bitcoin charts itself to see where they move. But no, not adding to Eng at the moment, man in black. Tim Gash, how's Litecoin looking? I'm on holiday next week, so might hold the mining payouts for a week. Yeah, okay, Tim. Let's have a quick look in there. I hope you're going somewhere nice on your holiday. I'm actually just in the process of booking a holiday for myself and my better half. We will be going to Egypt later on in the year for just over a week. I'm a big fan of Egypt. I really like the place. It's really nice. I love ancient architecture and I love heat. So great combination. Also, and I don't know if any of you guys out there have done it, but I'm a huge fan of scuba diving and stuff like that. And the Red Sea is really beautiful for swimming in. Okay, so Litecoin one day on Binance. Right, so Tim, I'm going to start by telling you one of my wee theories, and that is I personally believe that Litecoin has very much been not solely driving the market this year, for sure, because there's lots of fundamentals that are improving, and we know there's institutional buyers getting into Bitcoin. But I think that a lot of the price action in the market has been driven by Litecoin. When we've seen Litecoin move significantly, it has the market's kept up, and you can see just by looking at this chart from the same period as Bitcoin. Look, we go back to the end of December where it got to its very bottom. This is actually against Bitcoin, but we've done 175% against Bitcoin. That is a significant increase for a major alt. Obviously, we see the lower market cap alts do these sort of moves quite often, but the major alts, for them to increase that much is quite significant. But I imagine, Tim, as you're talking about holding profits from mining, you're probably more interested in looking at this particular chart and checking it out against USD. How's it looking? It's looking super bullish, or at least on a very bullish trend line in general. I mean, that line is just useless to us now. That was back when we were back at the bottom. Again, this particular chart would have been set up from when we were down there in the bottom, because that's when I made my last Litecoin purchase, was on this neckline, and we were talking again about the breakthrough and then breakdown and a throwback, or break up then throwback. And look at this: break up, throwback, confirmation support along the neckline, and then we took off. So yeah, overall for Litecoin, rather bullish at the moment. I would say that. Let's have a look at these. I'm going to make a couple of assumptions about Litecoin, and I'm going to put them to you now, Tim. First of all, we have the halving approaching very rapidly. If correct me if I'm wrong, guys, in the chat, but I believe it's August, which you can only assume is going to continue to drive price in the lead up. From a technical standpoint, a retracement's very possible. Not everything can just go up straight up forever. We know that. That's fundamental trading 101, right? So, yeah, be aware that a retracement could happen. Have tight stop losses. If you are walking away from it, have tight stop losses. We've got something interesting developing here on the 4 hour. Now, this I would pay a little bit more attention to. As you can see, the 50 EMA is held pretty nicely as support there, and again here. We are very close to retesting it. Also, what we've done as we're testing it is we're getting this downwards pressure. Okay, let's put a line in to indicate this downwards pressure. You can see that downwards pressure being forced into the 7 and the 50 meeting, as well as the price meeting the 50. On the TDI, we've actually had the bearish cross from the leading indicator, but we're still in the trading zone. So this wouldn't be an immediate sell signal just yet. But what it is indicating is that at the moment, the momentum on the 4 hour is to the downside. That will be the case at least until we hit this 50 EMA, I would imagine, Tim. And if we then review those two bits of information together, we can see that once we bounced off the 50, we had the green indicator here, the RSI on the TDI turn upwards. And again, you can see it once again here, use the 50 as support, and our indicator turned. Lower high here on the RSI, matched with the second similar top on LTC. Check this 50. In all honesty, Tim, and again, no legal or financial advice, but I would be tempted. I would be tempted to have a stop loss in place if I were you, or if I was holding Litecoin personally, should I say. Yeah, because if we break below this 50 EMA, we could see a further sell-off. It depends what your personal risk to reward sort of strategy and allowances are to how much of a stop loss you might have. But safe, it's just safe to assume that we're going to see a test of this 50, and a breakdown below it could see us. If we broke the 50 and also broke the 125 level, it could go down even to the 119 in the midterm. That being said, there is also the flip side of that to say that if we bounce off the 50 and momentum then kicks back up to the top and we break this downtrending resistance, then expect further upside. So you have to, charts are live. We have to keep our eye on them. That's what I would be personally watching. Hope that helps somewhat, Tim. Scott Gregory, if Bitcoin retraces down to the support level, do you think the alts will pump Jimbo? Okay, right. Now I've got a couple of points to give you there on that, Scott. Now, first of all, would be that the alts tend to move mainly on fundamental news if Bitcoin is moving dramatically. Okay, so for example, back in February, March time, Engine dropped huge news. When they did that, at the same time as that happening, Bitcoin was also on a rise. And across the board, we were seeing some of the alts suffer because of that. The fundamental news that Engine released was so strong that it drove against the market. Okay. And again, you know that if Bitcoin falls significantly, the alts also dump as well. Now there's such a plethora of stable coins available to us on the market. We can dive in and out of what we like, when we like. We can secure our profits how we like. So when Bitcoin moves, the alts move. When we see periods of stabilization, that is when it becomes more enticing in the altcoins. And what tends to happen is people take profits out of their Bitcoin and they start to put them into the alts to suggest, now Bitcoin's stabilized a little bit more. I feel more comfortable moving my money back into the alts, moving my Bitcoin back into the alts in order to accumulate more Bitcoin. So what I would say is, if it was to reach a consolidation area, there's a good chance we will see some of the alts move. The key is how strong is the support? How confident are people in Bitcoin's ability to stay within that range? Because doesn't just happen immediately. You don't just hit the support line and then as soon as you get down to it, all the money goes out to the alts. No, it doesn't quite work like that. What you need to see is an area of stability, and once you get that area of stability, then yes, you do see more of the Bitcoin being transferred into altcoins. But again, remember that a lot of that, and listen, this is just my opinion, but if I'm a big institutional trader right now, or a big boy trader, to be honest with you, I'm probably not even looking at the alts a huge deal. And I'm not talking about your retail investor. I'm talking about people with big money. And it's just because if Bitcoin breaks positive, there is plenty of money to be had off the table just trading Bitcoin alone. So that's all. Just bear that in mind. The strength of the trend can play against it with the altcoins. What you will see, of course, if this does go power again, you will see the altcoins following suit with huge gains against USD. But we know that's because they're going up, because the Bitcoin's going up. Like I said, you always have to compare the charts. Litecoin, that Litecoin chart analysis we just did was perfect because you've got 175% up against against the BTC value, but a several hundred percent up. Sorry, several 100% up from the USD value, because not only is its Bitcoin value increasing, but Bitcoin itself is increasing. So you get additional gains. But very possibly, Scott, if it retraces down and it finds strong support, then yes, we could very possibly see the alts begin to pump. I do think that we are probably not a great deal away from some form of alt season, but whether that is the whole market or not is a whole different thing. It's not going to be everything all the time. PJ, thanks, boss. Great info. Yeah, no problem, PJ. I'm glad. I hope you found it useful and it was good for you. Matt, any thoughts about these big insurance companies moving into BTC pensions? I'd have a pension linked to or buying Bitcoin. Is there one available yet? Not that I've seen in the UK as of yet. And I'm going to go out on a limb. I don't know this for fact, but I'm going to go on a limb and say no, not just yet. They don't see it. It hasn't, from a regulatory standpoint, pension funds are well on the ball. Now, I'm going to tell you a couple of things. One, I would say that if I'm a pension fund manager, Bitcoin looks very enticing. Okay. I could go on such a tangent about pensions right now. And it's funny because when I speak to people, I work with older gentlemen, and we talk about pensions, and they say to me, oh, I talk quite negatively about pensions. But it's not because I think they're a bad thing, because they're not a bad thing, but I think some of the way that they're managed and stuff like that. So maybe not so bad in the UK, but in the US, it's crazy. Some of it's crazy. But if you're any sort of fund manager, you've got to be looking at Bitcoin right now and saying, well, if we diversify our assets, we might just place ourselves ahead of the herd, and doing so could make us very successful. So I would imagine that if they aren't already live, they will certainly be looking to put that into place when they can, Matt. And I agree with you. To be honest with you, Matt, when it says about a pension linked to or buying Bitcoin, well, I would say that from my own personal perspective, yes, I pay my pension through my salary, as most people do. But I would say that me buying the Bitcoin that I do and trading the alts that I do and accumulating Bitcoin, that's me making my own pension, right? You know, I'm not saying that it's going to make me retire immediately or it's going to be enough to live off forever. That's, you know, I'm not claiming that for a start. But the point is that that is, you know, you're looking to secure your own financial future potentially, aren't you? You know. I see you've shared a link there, Man in Black, but it won't let me click it on my phone. Won't let me go through to it. Poland's Alior Bank to verify documents using it. Yeah, see, excellent. Thank you very much for that share. That's great. So yeah, you can start seeing these big companies and big countries. Countries and companies coming out and saying that they are going to start, you know, verifying things on the Ethereum blockchain. Now, I'm not 100% confident of all the details of whether these are going to be separate ERC20 projects. I would suggest probably Ethereum mainnet. Guys, I mean, I've seen links to the Russian government and Ethereum. You know, whether or not they're true or not, I don't know. But if you wanted to write law and you wanted to, you know, some of these things, these smart contracts are so useful when it comes to litigation and things like that. So worth looking at. PJ, considering the recent news about Binance and US customers, do you foresee a rise in KuCoin usage and subsequently a run for KuCoin shares? Two-part answer. Two-part answer. Great question, by the way, PJ. Thank you very much. Great question. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to say yes. Personally, I think we're going to see a run in KuCoin shares because I think attention will be driven towards that direction. Because exactly what you're saying, we've highlighted it's a good exchange, it's a nice user interface, and it's going to get attention. So I would imagine it would. I listen. Exchange tokens have been very profitable for the last year or two. KuCoin may very well do well, but OKX may do very well. Huobi may also do very well. There is again a plethora of exchanges which could very well, you know, benefit off this massively. And we're making assumptions about Binance US, and of course, the majority of the assumptions are that it was going to have negative impact on trading volumes, etc., etc. But who knows what CZ's got up his sleeve with that? Until Binance US is out and we can see the trading pairs that are on there, and until the SEC give us the full regulations for what, you know, how they're really applying things, and we're seeing it start to trickle through with the Kin lawsuit and stuff like that. But until we see fully what's going to be the impact of those, it's hard to know which exchange is going to come out on top. I do think that KuCoin will have a run. Whether or not it's going to replace Binance as in the long term, I'm not so sure. I think by listing Binance Coin, they did that today or yesterday, I believe. I think that they are making, you know, that's a statement for me that they're going the same way as Binance. So either you list Binance Coin, you're doing the same things as Binance are, and I can't see why they're not going to have to oblige to the same, you know, apply to the same regulations that Binance are having to do this US. For the US exchange. So, yes, I think we'll see a rise in it. Do I think it's going to be some big KuCoin takeover? I am not so confident. That does lead me into something that I did want to cover today, and I briefly had forgotten about. It was something that we discussed in, again, I think we were talking about this in the last video, and it's Cash BTC. So, I was talking to you guys about the fact that these guys have announced the Telegram token, the Ton token, is going to be released on the Liquid exchange, which is Cash. Is the exchange token for Liquid. Guys, stop paying attention to this. In my opinion, do your own research, do your own due diligence. I can't tell you what to buy or sell. I'm not here for that. But start paying attention to Cash and Liquid, because Telegram doing their a token launch on that exchange to me is a big green flag of professionalism. I've been been watching Cash and learning about them now for 18 months or so. Something about that time. I've been watching these guys for a long time. I really like them. Do your own research, do your own due diligence, check it out. But you talk about, will tokens replace, you know, what's going to happen to exchanges in the long run? Well, in my personal opinion, we're going to see a few things. We're going to see DXs become huge as we move forward. But I also believe that there's going to be space for well-regulated centralized exchanges as well. And Cash have been doing everything they can and everything in their power to make sure that they have a pretty above-board exchange. So worth doing a bit of research on these guys. If you haven't got an account, maybe just go and check them out. You know, see what you think of the exchange yourself. Proof's in the pudding often, isn't it? But yeah, I would recommend having a look at Cash as well. Right. Tim Gash, I love Mexico for ruins and diving too. Just a villa away in Spain with the family, having a cheap one, then blow out in Hong Kong next year. Well, a villa in Spain with the family sounds absolutely excellent, Tim. I hope you have a really nice time. And a blowout in Hong Kong sounds amazing. It's really close to the top of my bucket list is Hong Kong. I'd love to go there. Hopefully in the future I'll get the opportunity to do so. But that sounds excellent. So a couple of you guys saying thank you in there. So excellent. Thanks. Man in Black says scuba in Ela and hop over to Jordan to check out Petra. Yes, yes. I haven't heard of that scuba diving location, so I'll check that out because that is absolutely on the list to be done while I'm out there. Funny story. It's a bit tangential, but I like doing this engagement thing. So I'm going to tell you a quick funny story. Right, last time I was out in Egypt, I was in Sharm, and we went in November, possibly September. I can't remember, but it was towards the winter months. So it was slightly cooler out there. It was still nice and warm, but slightly cooler. And we were looking at excursions, me and my partner, and we're looking at Cairo, and it wasn't running Cairo at the time. But they told us that we could do an alternative trip, which was the day flight over to Petra. And obviously, I was super excited because geek over here, huge Indiana Jones fan, love my ancient architecture as well. So, Petra is a massive appeal to me. And I thought, oh, excellent. Here's my opportunity to go and see the amazing Petra. And the tour guide told us the price and this and that and the other. And just before we virtually were about to sign and pay, he said, "Oh, I do have to tell you one other thing." He said, he said, "It's actually snowing in Jordan at the moment." He was telling us that, it was the first time that it snowed there in, I don't know how many years, whatever. I can't really remember the exact details. But yeah, he was saying that there was snow on the floor in the desert at Petra. And we actually ended up deciding not to go because I just thought I'd love to go, but that is just not the way I imagine seeing it. It's snow on the floor. So maybe we'll check that out this time. Yeah, thanks for the recommendation. Okay, guys, so I'm going to wrap this up pretty soon. Thank you if you've stuck by the whole thing. If you've got any extra things that you want to look at before we finish off, just get them into the chat box now and we'll get that sorted. And if you could just, again, like I said, give us a like on the video, that would be really, really useful for me. It's going to help, these videos get to a few more people. And also, I'm just going to add that I think what I will do moving forward is I'm going to start recording the crypto lives and doing some of the pre-records as well. Maybe I'll make that a weekend thing, like a weekend edition will be like possibly a pre-record. I'm not sure of the exact format yet, but basically the reason I'm going to do that is because the pre-records actually get a bigger reach. They've got bigger reach potential, so I can put do a news review and stuff. If you guys saw my earlier videos, the crypto live, CAK crypto live ones, they were news review charts, etc., and we threw it all into one. And actually, they had a really good reach. So what I'll probably start doing is release one of them a week, as well as the live streams. But we will continue these live streams as our mainstay because I love engaging with you guys. That's what this is all about. Throwing ideas around together. That's what CK is all about. So yeah, really, really want to make sure that we keep these going. Matt, good point about buying BTC for your own pension fund instead of using a traditional pension fund. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Listen, it's not. I'm not telling you to take all your money out of your pension and put it all in Bitcoin because that would be ludicrous, right? Diversification and risk to reward ratios and all of that. You just don't do something like that. You diversify your asset sets, in my opinion. But what I would say is that you're doing your own thing. You're thinking ahead. People. If we're here, we're thinking ahead. If we're buying Bitcoin, we're thinking ahead. I mean, it depends what you sort of mindset you're in. If you're strictly day trader, then you're thinking day to day. But I don't think I think that a lot of us in this market have fallen into day trading. There's nothing wrong with that. I actually day traded before I arrived in this market, but I'm talking in a whole. As a whole, I think a lot of the people in this space have come because they like what they've seen and they've heard about Bitcoin and stuff, and they've sort of fallen into the accumulation mode. And I think that's how a lot of us ended up. Really, even the guys in this stream, I imagine that's how a lot of you guys got here and got into the communities that we're in. It's we've come to the crypto space, and now we found ourselves day trading for accumulation mode, but we're thinking future wise, right? We're thinking accumulation. I mean, that's what it's all about. Well, for me personally, anyway, course, it's for me personally. I just noticed there, of course, PHB's had a really good day today. So again, tangential, but I saw that had a really good day, and big standout candle on the daily. Quick look at the 4-hour. Big jump out candle there, yet to cross. The EMAs are yet to cross, so keep an eye on that. Could break down. 2 hours to go on that candle. Could break down. Have to keep an eye on that. Kim O'Brien. Hi, Jimba. Kim, welcome along. Great to have you here. Great to have you here, Kim. Thanks for joining us. Coming to the end now, Kim. But yeah, of course, you can rewind back and watch from the start. We've covered Bitcoin. We've talked a little bit about the TDI indicator. We talked a little bit about Libra. In fact, I didn't do the Libra section. Let's just do that quickly, right? Before I close this off, as we've got another person join us towards the end. I want to do this Libra discussion quite quickly, right? Okay, so Facebook have announced the Libra Association now. The white paper's come out. We know a little bit more about the details. We know that it looks like it's going to be a pegged currency, so it's going to be different. It's going to be a little bit different to sort of like a Bitcoin is. We now know that they're looking for, realistically, it's going to be person-to-person transactions and probably scaling into the payments network as well. I mean, why would they build the system, the infrastructure they've built with, if you read the list of the 27 companies that were involved, it was Visa, MasterCard, Uber, some huge companies, and I think they're just trying to, lay the foundations for a payment network. And yeah, fair play to old Zuckerberg. So all right, so let's go about this the right way. I'm going to start with a strength or a positive to why this could be a good thing for the market. And then I am going to balance it with why it could also be a bad thing for the market, right? And again, if you guys have got any input on this, chuck it there in the group. I'd love to hear what you guys think about this. It's not all about, this show isn't all about my opinions. I'd love your insights as well. Right. Libra is about to introduce cryptocurrency to billions of people who probably still have never heard of it. Okay, they have a huge amount of active users. I can't remember the exact number, but it is a B in the billions. And I'm not even sure if that number itself includes the WhatsApp users. That could just be Facebook, the platform itself. Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp. I'm sure they're all going to be integrated as part of this Libra network. Right? You're going to be able to use it on all platforms. It wouldn't make sense for it to be only on Messenger or something like that. So their outreach is huge. From what I've seen of the project, it's very easy. It's going to be in-app sending of money, instant feeless, and all that sort of stuff, or very low. And I think that it's going to essentially it's going to drive adoption of cryptocurrency. Not maybe immediately, but what it does is it's a mass marketing tool like none other that we've seen in this space, and we just haven't seen such a big reach for advertisement for digital currency. And what it does is, I don't think we just need people to be introduced to digital currency. What we need to have is a widespread mindset change, because I still believe we're still in a time now where the majority of people do not think that digital money, digital cash it can be used. People are still stuck on, well, cash has to be cash. This is it. This is that. This is the only thing with value. And I don't blame people for that. That's not a dig at those people that think that way, because it just makes sense. What we're taught, right? That's what we're taught. We're taught that money's money, and that's how we're taught to think about life. But we will have a mindset change, and I've talked about it before about how I tie it to the fourth industrial revolution, and how actually new technology expands consciousness. It really does. It changes the consciousness of people. The internet is changing the consciousness of mankind. In my opinion, we have access to information and conversations and groups and that we could have never had before. I saw this really interesting speech recently. I can't for life of me think of what it was. In the speech, he said that the millennial generations understanding of the word freedom has changed for one of the first times in mankind. And in a way, I believe I agree with him, not fully, but to an extent I agree with him, and this is how he backs it. He says, for the majority of human history, The meaning of the word freedom is to be an island to oneself, to be able to support myself, my family, whatever. You understand? That's what freedom is to most people, to be free to do what you need to do in life and to be able to support people, right? And that is part and most of what makes up freedom. But I think there's also a new mindset coming in younger people, not just younger people, but um, the digital generation. Freedom for us is also the access to the networks that we're part of. We are part of communities which are miles bigger and have a huge, much larger reach than any other community or generation within human history has ever had. Take Facebook alone, billions of users at your fingertips. Okay, and people people love their, it doesn't matter what you are. I have several different things that I like to be part of, communities I'm part of, whether it be my football team that I'm a big fan of, or the cryptocurrency stuff, or X, Y, or Z. Part of my freedom now is to be able to be part of these communities. I truly believe that access to networks, access to networks, and I think that's part of. And I think that's really changing, and it's all part of the mindset change that comes with technological advancement. And just to bring that round to the full circle, at the moment, most people don't use digital cash. We've started. People can pay on Google Pay on their phone and use it as NFC contactless and stuff like that. People are getting more accustomed to it. Once Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, and Instagram integrate a Libra project, and people are able to send £100 or $100 or whatever it happens to be in an instant, and all of a sudden, instead of seeing pounds or dollars, they see the Libra sign. They are going to their fundamental understandings of what currency is going to be shattered. It's going to be shattered, in my opinion. Okay, in my opinion, I think this is already happening. I've got to harp on about this a bit, quite a lot. But look at the gaming. Look at the gaming sphere. You play these new games. Loads of them are free to download because the money's not made there. The money's made where people want to buy in-app purchases. Those in-app purchases tend to be done with tokens, tokenization. People buy V-Bucks, for example, on Fortnite to buy their skins and decals and all the sorts of stuff they buy, or whatever rubbish it is they buy. But they do, and that's changing the mindset of those people. They understand that you can transfer value using V-Bucks. You can transfer it using V-Bucks. And people are going to start to understand you can transfer value on Messenger using Libra, and it's not going to be instant. It's not going to be instant. But what that does is that changes people's mindset, and what it might do is it might bring a lot of attention to our crypto sphere. And people understanding, that aha moment, that Bitcoin aha moment I harp on about, we this could be like a turbocharge for more people getting the aha moment. Bitcoin, we can do this. Look at that as a store of value. In my opinion, by the time that mindset is inputted into the masses, it's already too late. If you're in it already now, then you know where you're at. We're in a risky market. There's no doubt about that. Always remember that. Nothing's too big to fail, ever. Nothing is too big to fail. But let's see the mindset change. Let's see the masses change, and as I've said again 100 times, let's watch this adoption bridge between us early adopters, us innovators. I'm not calling myself an innovator. I'm just saying that the early percentages are your early adopters and innovators, and I truly believe that we are falling into that category, and we're starting to see the early masses. The early masses, that's a big bridge. The 34% bridge is huge. Absolutely huge. Um, I wonder if I've shown you that before. Um, sorry, bear with me. It's the law of innovation. I'm trying to think. Here we go. The diffusion of innovation. The law of diffusion of innovation. Right. Got to be a better version of that. Here we go. Here we go. This is something that I've done. Actually, guys, if you want to learn a little bit more about this, and I don't know how many of you have been in my channel for a little while, but go back. There's a video somewhere in my chat that's all about the law of diffusion of innovation and about bridging the chasm. I'm sure it's called something like Will Bitcoin bridge the chasm? Go and check that video out, please. Slap a like on it. Go and watch that. Let me know what you think, because it didn't get a lot of views at the time because we had such low membership at the time, but it really, I really do stick to it. Maybe I'll cover it again another day. But here we have the law of diffusion of innovation. And as you can see, you've got your innovators are your early 2.5%, your early adopters are the 13.5, and then 34% make up your early majority. The gap between your early adopters and your early majority are when most technology and projects fail, when most companies fail. It's okay to have innovators and early adopters. You always have a certain amount of the crowd that get what you're doing. You just get people. You get people who want the tech. They are us. They are us of the Bitcoin world. The people who were the first people who were running the Bitcoin mining back in 2012 off their laptops, even though it was, burning batteries out on their laptop. They're your innovators and your early adopters. And I still think that we're close to this phase, but I think we're here now approaching this chasm. And what the difficulties that most technologies and businesses face is bridging this gap, bridging the chasm. And getting the early majority on board. And then obviously, of course, the late majority and laggards follow. And Simon Sinek has a very funny piece about laggards, saying that the only reason that these guys don't have touch dial phones now is because they don't have a wire to plug them into anymore. So again, if that's a video you haven't seen, Diffusion of Law of Innovation, Simon Sinek, I really recommend that. He covers the golden circle of marketing as well, which is about why, how, and what. And I recommend going and watching that, because again, we can apply so many of these lessons back to the crypto space, but so many of the projects are just about what, and not about why. And and the more you learn about the golden circle and how the golden circle works, and the more you learn about what sort of marketers are good and what sort of marketers aren't so good, and then you can start learning about, you can start deducing from interviews and stuff like that what sort of person that you're, and what sort of company you're dealing with, essentially. Wow, I've just rabbited on about that for a long time. Sorry, guys, but the point was that Libra could very easily help to close this chasm for cryptocurrency between the early adopters and the early majority, and then obviously the late majority and laggards. On the flip side of that, it could take market share away from cryptocurrency. You have to remember that. Do I think it will? No, I think that we will look back in 20 years and we'll say the international payments, pensions, insurance, hedge funds, offshore banking, tokenization, these markets could be worth, trillions and trillions, and we'll say, why did we ever wonder if there was only space for one player in this market? Very good potentially for the marketing of the crypto space. Could have an implication on, certainly, by the way, guys, look at the alts. Some of these alts are going to get wrecked by this. Some of the alts are going to get wrecked by this. Not saying all of them. Not saying all of them, but if you're a low cap payment service provider, cryptocurrency right now, who's trying to, shake things up with a payment app just with the cryptocurrency, you're probably not going to make it. Because people use what they know, and even though people don't trust Facebook, they still trust it more than something they haven't heard of. That's human nature. And that's funny, isn't it? That how we can hear bad things, but because the company, we know that our data was sold, we know this, that, and the other. But because it's a name we still recognize, still trust them over someone we never heard of. Human nature, I guess. That must be in human nature. Okay, I'm not seeing any more comments coming through. Man in Black, or soon Abyss in Fortnite, hopefully. Yeah, wow. Let's hope so, Man in Black. Let's hope so. Abyss in Fortnite would be fantastic. And let's just quickly jump over to, before I go. See, Coin Torox having not a bad day today, 85.6% up. CoinGecko showed 2 million above volume. Be wary of this if you guys are in Aurochs, because a lot of this trading comes from Ether Flyer, and I can't say for any surety, but I think there's a bit of wash trading going on there. But volume is definitely increasing on CoinExchange.io, but as you can see, there's a gulf in price at the moment. So just keep an eye on it. But yeah, anyway, not too bad. But the reason I came across here was to have a look at Abyss. Let me just see how that's done. And then I will just have a quick look over a couple of the other low market caps before we wrap up. So Abyss down on the 7 days, looking probably. We'll have to have a look at the support and resistance somewhere else, but that's looking like a potential buy zone at the moment. Have a look into this. Abyss project is another gaming project. We know how Engine's done. They have partnerships with Epic Games as well, which is why I'm surprised to see that this has dropped so far down in the last 7 days. Because you can see 30 days up, still 310%, but 7 days down 20%. Once you announce that you're partnered with Epic Games, that is a pretty good sign. We'll have a quick jump over to Udo. Up just about 1% on the day, still at 1.2 cents. Howd, I believe, guys, bullish signs. Tomorrow's the launch for Howdo in the Play Store and iOS. So if you've been waiting for the Howdo app, you should be able to download that tomorrow. Just one other thing. What else could we got? TNT call today for the premium members of the CKA Alliance and generated us nice profits in a short period of time, or potential profit. Of course, all the calls that I make are purely educational, and they are just divert your attention to things that you haven't seen. I'm not telling you to buy or sell. It's not legal advice. It's nothing like that. I'm just calling the market as I see it. And we called TNT somewhere around this neckline. I can't remember the exact number. Oh, it must be the bottom end of this at 386, and we pushed all the way up. We didn't push all the way up to there. We pushed all the way up to there and took 13%, 437. So that was nice for our premium members. Right, guys. I think I'm going to wrap it all up there. Thank you very much for sticking with me throughout the stream. I really appreciate your engagement. It's been really good talking to you guys. Well, sorry, one more comment. There's been some huge buys on FXC over the past couple of days with increased volume. Was digging into it this morning. Yeah, I'm a big fan of FXC, as you know, Man in Black. I think we will cover that in more detail as a project in the not so distant future, because I see good things in the future for Flexer. Thanks, Jimbo. Yeah, more than welcome. Yeah, thanks all for stopping by. Hopefully, you guys will continue to come and drop in on these lives, and Kim saying better late than never. Kim, very, very happy that you're here. For everyone that stopped in, thank you very much. If you're not in the CKA discussion group, if you're not in the free chat group, the link's in the description. Come and get involved. We talk all things crypto pretty much all day, all hours. There's always someone awake and talking in there, and there's no question too silly for anyone. If you come in there, you can ask whatever you want. Someone will be willing to help you because they're all really nice folk and very knowledgeable as well. So come and get involved in that. Again, slap a like on the video, subscribe if you haven't. Have a lovely day, guys. I will catch you for another live stream next week, if not before. But of course, always active in Telegram. So come and stop by and say hello. Till next time, guys, I'm going to leave it there. Bye.